Hello ladies and gentlemen, Adrian here for Digital Dojos. Today we're going to be overviewing the Mac OS X app known as Yoink. So I want to give a personal thanks to the developer behind Yoink, Matthias over at Eternal Storm Software, for sponsoring Digital Dojos this week and making all of our content possible. While we're focusing just on Yoink today, he offers a great suite of apps for OS X and iOS over at eternalstorms.at, so be sure to check them all out. All right, so Yoink is a $7 utility that by the end of this video, I hope I can persuade you, it is worth every single penny. For me recently, especially because it's just been so essential in how I work on my MacBook Air, just because I've been forced to go from a 27-inch iMac to a MacBook Air, much smaller screen real estate, much smaller screen resolution. Thus, Yoink is just a true lifesaver in this case. So let's talk about how it works and show some use case examples. Then we'll jump into the settings of Yoink and how you can go ahead and kind of customize the preferences. So Yoink, like I said, it's a drag and drop utility. It allows you to drag and drop files easily amongst spaces, virtual desktops, what have you here. And as you can see here, the Yoink bar is presented on the left side here. Now you can take files from Finder, you can take files from your desktop here and easily just drag them out. So whether like you're here and you want to drag a file, so I can go ahead and take this right here and then drag the file into Yoink, and just like that. I can do the same thing from my desktop, of course. So I can just take a file, drag it in, it's now in my Yoink bar. And from there, you have your files stored temporarily. Think of it as a temporary shelf for eventually the permanent, destination of your files here. So typical situation for me, I'm working full screen editor like ScreenFlow, like Final Cut Pro, or Photoshop, what have you. And I tend to work with a lot of different files. So it can be images, it can be other videos, and I need access to them. And sometimes it's a pain, if I'm working in a full screen, I have to jump back to the desktop by swiping over. I have to open up the Finder window from the dock, which eventually just drags me over here. And then if I want to get a file over, I have to go and then I have to, drag over. Sometimes I lose that. And, while I'm doing this, my mouse is kind of just locked in position. No longer with Yoink do I have to worry about that, because I drag all the files I'm working with into my Yoink bar here, and then I can simply just take them out of here easily into their final destination. So again, it's super simple. It saves me a ton of time in the long run, and it keeps everything just organized in one place. I just know to go to my Yoink bar. I can just trigger it by going to the left there. It's easily available, and it's like, again, the travel distance is that much shorter, and trust me, while that may not seem like a lot, it does add up in the long run, and there's a lot of great tricks that make Yoink that much more convenient. So for example, if I was to take all of these files here, drag them into Yoink, Yoink knows to automatically stack those files, because it knows I'm working with all of those files together. So rather than just spread them out into 6 individual files, it stacks them up here, makes it easier for me to work with them. And again, I can go back here and just drag all 6 files into whatever I'm working on. Very, very useful when video editing. And again, these are just screenshots, but you can do the same thing with, let's say I'm on my site here on Digital Dojos. I have some text here from a Safari window. I can just drag that into Yoink. And again, it takes that snippet of text and it's there. It's easily available for me to reference later on. So another instance I'll use it for when I'm writing a blog post, for example, is just research. Like if I'm researching stuff and there's like things I want to get a quote for, or, make a note of or annotate, I can just simply take it, drag it into Yoink, and then have to worry about it later on whenever I get to my text editor or what have you. Now, let's talk a little bit about the settings within Yoink. When you hover over each icon here, you'll see you have the option to go ahead and delete the file out of Yoink. It doesn't delete the file itself, it just deletes it out of your Yoink bar. You can quick look the app, no pun intended there, or the file. That way you can see what you're actually working with here. So you have a bunch of files in here, you can easily just quick look it. And you can also, of course, lock a file here. So you can lock a file if you don't want it to get deleted or out of your Yoink bar. So for example, if I was to hit the clean sweep here, you can see my locked file up here stays safe. Now that easily just allows you to clear your files within Yoink. You can go into your gear to adjust the settings, or you can go in the top right of the Yoink, or I should say your Mac menu bar, and be able to adjust settings this way. So you can adjust your Windows position, put it on the left side, put it on the right side, top, middle, bottom, essentially. You can adjust the window size. So right now I have it to adjust automatically as I drag files in, but by default it's just 3 files. You can set it to the biggest, or you can set it to the smallest, which is just 1 file essentially within Yoink. Now, under your preferences, you have 3 tabs. You have General, which allows you to change when it launches. You can have it launch at startup, which I would actually recommend. So let me go ahead and tick that myself. Show menu bar icon. You can go ahead and go into Behavior and adjust how it behaves. So for example, if you wanted to pop up Yoink when the drag starts. So for example, when you start dragging like this, or would you rather have it pop up when its mouse is at the edge of the screen? So let me go ahead and unlock this and show you what I mean here. So you can see Yoink disappears typically when it's not, in need of use. But if I set it to this preference, when I drag this to the edge of the screen here, essentially what this does is it knows, and then I'll trigger Yoink. Otherwise, I can set it to drag start. So as soon as I click on a file, whether it's in Finder or here, as soon as I start dragging, you can see Yoink gets triggered there. And what's really cool is you can add ignored apps to the list. So if there's certain things that you don't want it, triggering Yoink when you drag files out of, like for example, if you're working like in Photoshop and you're just dragging certain elements around, you don't want that to trigger Yoink, or you're just dragging things around, you don't want it to trigger Yoink, you can easily go ahead and tweak that there. You can move windows to a mouse location when the drag is initiated. Again, you can have that adjusted or on or off. You can also have a Yoink manual button, so that just pops up when you click on a button there. Or you can go in your advanced settings and do things like remove items when dragged out, show quick look previews, turn that off or on, resolve alias files to their destination when added, and combine multiple files to a stack in Yoink, which is again by default on, but I definitely recommend keeping that on because it's much easier to organize them that way. And those are all your settings within Yoink. It's pretty straightforward, but at the same time, it allows you to really customize your experience. Again, whether you're working in full screen windows, which is something I tend to do a lot when I'm trying to focus on one object here, it makes it so much easier. I don't have to minimize. I don't have to go out of full screen. I don't have to swipe all the way over. If all my files I know that I'm going to be working with are in my Yoink bar, then they're all just easily accessible. I don't have to worry about it whenever I'm in a single space on a virtual desktop. I can just access them easily, simple within Yoink. I don't have to be constantly clicking and dragging all around. Just one time, and I'm good to go. So that's Yoink in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. It is a really great, productive app and utility to have on OS X, in my opinion. If you work with multiple files, video editing, photo editing, what have you, I can assure you you'll find a way to use it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments below and your thoughts about Yoink. Thumbs up if this video helped you out. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And as always, for more in-depth content and to continue your experience, head over to digitaldojos.com.